Luke 22:3 references Satan entering into Judas. Question: did he actually get possessed by Satan, or did Satan somehow tempt him? Interesting question, isn't it? Notice Luke 22, verse 3. Then entered Satan into Judas, surname Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. Notice the text plainly says what? Then entered Satan into Judas. So the questioner is asking, did he literally, physically enter into this particular apostle? Wow. For some reason, the very moment we hear that someone enters into another, someone dwells in another, we automatically think just as literal as we possibly can, don't we? So when individuals read that text, Satan entered into Judas. Uh-oh. That means he must have literally gone into his body. Satan is a spirit being, is he not? Folks, let me tell you something. If a spirit being enters into the body of another person and overtakes that individual and causes him to do evil, he is possessed by who? He is possessed by that demon, in this case, Satan. Now, what's important about that is this. In the New Testament, when a person was possessed by a demon, he was considered to have a serious malady, was he not? He was sick. He was diseased. He was possessed of a demon. Now, what's important about that is this. It was a condition for which he was not responsible. We read about demon possession all the time, do we not? Jesus ran into individuals throughout the course of His ministry that were possessed of demons. And never once did He condemn them because they were possessed. Because He knew this is a spiritual malady. It took a miracle to cast a demon out of an individual who had been possessed by that demon. Let me ask you a question. Did Judas make his own choice to betray the Christ? Absolutely. And God held him accountable for that choice, did He not? So my point is this. When the Bible says Satan entered into Judas, he is not physically, literally entering into that man. Notice this other explanation. Folks, when an individual in his mind commits to doing the bidding of Satan, he has entered into that person. Hasn't he? John 13:2 reveals that Satan put into the heart of Judas to betray the Christ. He'd been thinking about it. He'd been pondering it. And now all of a sudden, he makes a conscious decision. I am going to go down, talk to the chief priests and captains, and betray my Lord. At that very moment, he began to do whose bidding? The bidding of Satan. Sin begins where? In the heart of man. All sin begins in the heart, doesn't it? There comes a time, however, when we actually commit to engage in the sinful action. Have you ever been tempted? Here's the truth and here's the lie. If I tell the truth, I got to pay $500. If I lie, I don't have to pay the $500. And there's a lot of people tempted by $500, aren't they? What if I said $1,000? Uh-oh. Now I included some other people in here. $5,000. You see, I've got a choice to make, do I not? And I ponder that and I think about it in my heart. I need to do the right thing, but I want to save $500. I don't want to spend that money. And then we finally commit, don't we? And we choose to lie. And we keep our $500. Folks, we've just done what? We've just done the bidding of Satan, haven't we? At that very moment, Satan, not the Lord, is in control of us, isn't he? I'm not talking about his literally entering into your body, but he is in control of you. You're doing what he wants you to do. You've become a liar, haven't you? When we commit to the sinful acts, it is just as good as if Satan were doing them himself. Isn't it? What's the difference? What's the difference between Satan lying and me lying? What's the difference between Satan committing murder and you committing murder? There's absolutely no difference whatsoever. When you and I do what Satan wants us to do, folks, Satan is within, and we have taken Jesus off the throne of our hearts, haven't we? Let's look at two other verses. Jesus' words to Peter. Let me set the background just a little bit for these words that Jesus spoke. Jesus had told his disciples, we're about to go to Jerusalem. The Son of Man is going to be betrayed. He's going to die, and He's going to be raised the third day. The very moment Peter heard those words, he responded to Jesus, and this is what he said, "Not so, Lord." It's not going to happen to you. And Jesus turned and said unto Peter, "Get thee behind me," who? Satan. Wow. "For thou art an offense to me. For thou savorest not the things that be of God, but the things which be of man." Did Peter turn into the literal Satan on that occasion? Jesus turned and looked at him. And what did he say? "Get thee behind me, Satan." Called him Satan. Was he the literal Satan? No. He was still who? He was still Peter. But the point is this. The very moment that Peter aligned himself with Satan, guess what? He was just as good as Satan, wasn't he? The very moment he said, "Oh no, Lord, you're not going to suffer, you're not going to die, you're not going to be raised the third day," he was doing the bidding of the evil one. And Jesus called him who? Jesus called him Satan. John 8:44, we're very familiar with this text. We use it to describe Satan all the time. But I want you to look at those first few words. Jesus, talking to the Jews in John 8:44, said, "Ye are of your father, the devil." Now think about that. These were children of God, were they not? These were the children of Abraham. These were children of the covenant. These were Jews. And he looks at them and he calls them what? Children of the devil. Why? Go back in the discussion. Go all the way back to verse 33. They're carrying on this discussion with Jesus, and listen to what they said. "We be Abraham's seed, and we were never in bondage to any man." Guess what? Lie. At that very moment, they were in bondage to who? To Rome. Were they not? They were under the authority of Rome. They had to comply with the dictates of Caesar Augustus. They were paying taxes to the Roman Empire, were they not? They had been subjugated to the royal empire, and yet they said, "We've never been in bondage to any man." Lie. You drop down just a little bit further. Verse 40, look what Jesus says. But now ye seek to kill me. Uh-oh. A man that hath told you the truth, which I have heard from God. These men had made up their minds that they were going to murder the Son of God. Think about that. They were what? They were liars and they were murderers. Truly, they were of the devil, weren't they? Ye are of your father the devil, and the works of the Father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. And he is the father of it. Wow. What two things does Jesus use to describe Satan in John 8:44? He is a murderer and he is a what? He is a liar. And he's already pointed out to those Jews, you are liars and you are murderers. Ye are of your father who? The devil. Wow. The actions of the Jews revealed that they possessed the same character, the same nature as Satan himself. It's pretty powerful stuff. When Judas made up his mind to betray the Christ and moved to come together with those Jewish leaders for 30 pieces of silver, Satan entered into him. He was doing the bidding of the evil one. Folks, Satan was behind the crucifixion of Jesus. Wasn't he? And he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains, how he might betray him unto them. And they were glad and coveted together for money. And he promised them and sought opportunity to do what? To betray him unto them. When guess what? There were no multitudes. In the absence of the multitude. He knew exactly where Jesus was going to be, didn't he? Guys, tonight, about 10, 11, 12 o'clock, he'll be in Gethsemane with just his disciples. And we'll go there and you can arrest him and there won't be any problems whatsoever. Fantastic. Here's your 30 pieces of silver. And off he went, happy as a lark. He was doing the bidding of the devil, wasn't he? There's some lessons we need to learn. It's this. Satan can enter into us today, can't he? And he can influence us to do evil as well. You and I can take on his nature. You and I can take on his characteristics. You and I can fulfill his mission. And we, like Peter, can be looked upon as what? As Satan himself. Kind of scary, isn't it? Paul knew the effects of the evil one. And he warns about it in Ephesians the 6th chapter. Look at verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Satan can enter into you. Satan can get you to do things you're not supposed to do. Put on the whole armor of God. We drop down to verse 16. And taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye may be able to quench the fiery darts of the wicked. Folks, Satan wants our hearts because he knows if I can influence your heart, I can influence your life. And you will do things that I